Welcome everyone today. I just want to have a quick chat around some low power connectivity options, cellular connectivity options, specifically NB-IoT in South Africa. I've got a special guest as well. Before I introduce him, as most of you would know, that NB-IoT is live in South Africa. It has been launched officially on the Vodacom network. And this is basically just the next evolution in IoT connectivity from a cellular connectivity point of view, having come from 2G right up to 5G. What makes NB-IoT quite exciting is that it is a low power connectivity option, which gives us quite a few benefits in terms of IoT use cases. Firstly, in terms of range, in terms of low cost, but most importantly, I think when it comes to the power consumption side. So many IoT applications are limited by power consumption and the power consumption that traditional GSM connectivity options gives you. So I think that really is for us quite an exciting area, is all the new use cases that NB-IoT will open in terms of IoT opportunities. Some examples of this would be metering, smart metering, as well as asset tracking, where there's no fixed or reliable power source on the asset that you are tracking. And what is sort of fueling the NB-IoT rollout in South Africa is more and more pressure building around the sunset of the 2G networks in South Africa. There are still a huge number of devices deployed that use the 2G frequency, and we expect that some of these will start using the NB-IoT spectrum as devices get renewed in the field and as new use cases get deployed. As you probably know, 2G is being phased out globally. The current plans in South Africa are a little bit sketchy. There's some legislative sort of requirements that still need to happen there. But what we are seeing in the real world out there is that we are picking up some thinning of the 2G networks in terms of on a tower level, fewer and fewer towers having 2G connectivity. So we expect that over time, the quality of service on 2G in terms of coverage specifically will start to decline as networks move to new generation technologies. The updates from specifically MTN and Vodacom, obviously they are bound by legislation, which is still in a bit of a gray area, but the official word from them is basically that 3G services will start scaling down from 2024 and 2G services thereafter. Exactly when that'll happen, we'll have to wait and see. But generally in the IoT market, I think when customers are looking at deploying devices, obviously looking at longevity, only deploying 2G only devices at this stage is quite risky. And NB-IoT then becomes one of the options, obviously, especially on the low power side, which our customers have. So in practice, we are seeing a lot of NB-IoT testing happening. A lot of customers are testing, new hardware or testing specific hardware with specific SIM types with good success. It's still quite a new technology. The NB-IoT network is still maturing, but I think it's reached a point now where we are going to see quite a bit of commercial sort of deployments happening. In terms of SIM management and where SIMcontrol fits in, obviously, NB-IoT is a part of our managed APN service, where we can offer custom data routing, firewalling, fixed IPs, and a lot of other management services. SIMs in NB-IoT devices need to be managed in a similar way than 2G devices or LTE devices. And we've got a couple of options around that, which you're welcome to ask us about. The emergence of hardware devices, obviously any new technology needs the network to be functional, and it also needs some good hardware. And that is where my guest today fits in, Brandon MacKenzie. He's a special projects engineer at Digital Matter, connected devices. Digital Matter has been at the forefront of NB-IoT testing in South Africa. So it's great to have you here, Brandon. And yeah, thanks for chatting to us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Cool. Yeah. So you've obviously put your sort of toes into the NB-IoT space. I'd love you to share some of that with us. But can you quickly just give us an overview for those who don't know about Digital Matter, just a quick overview and the type of devices that you develop?
Yeah, so Digital Matter is an IoT device manufacturer. And I mean, we've been operating in the IoT industry for more than 23 years now. So you could say we're pretty well established in the industry. We've manufactured more than 2 million devices, these ranging from battery-powered devices to wired devices, and anything in terms of connectivity, whether it be cellular or LoRaWAN. We've also dabbled in Sigfox, those sorts of things. So yeah, on the cellular side of things, we have currently produced devices that connect via 2G, 3G, 4G, and now 5G. So we really specialize in the cellular spectrum. Yeah, I mean, what sort of applications do we have? Well, we like to say that we manufacture tracking devices that can track anything really, whether it be a truck trailer or an elephant, you name it. But yeah, I mean, more of the popular markets tend to be things like fleet management, cold chain management, logistics, and agri-tech data industries, those sorts of things. But yeah, whether it be trip tracking or data logging, we have all sorts of cellular and LoRaWAN, Sigfox devices for those sorts of purposes.
Awesome. That's cool. And have you come across sort of, issues around 2G and 2G thinning at all, or are you not seeing that yet in the South African market?
So not officially. I mean, we have lots of clients that are currently moving over from 2G to 4G technologies. But I mean, the main driver for that is really the imminent 2G sunset. And I suppose there's a lot of anxiety around what happens to devices that are deployed in the field when the technology eventually does get sunsetted. So I wouldn't say that there have been any particular complaints about thinning, but there's definitely a migration away from using 2G technology to deploy devices.
Okay. Do you think it'll have quite a big impact on the South African sort of IoT space?
Yeah, I think moving to NB-IoT in particular, the South African landscape is perfect for that. I mean, NB-IoT, for those of you who don't know, I mean, it stands for Narrowband Internet of Things, and it's actually classified as a 5G network. But it's specifically designed to cater for low-power IoT devices. So it kind of optimizes the transmission power losses in traditional cellular networks by reducing the bandwidth and data rate. So compared to 2G technologies, there are a lot of benefits there. So yeah, I think in the South African context, I mean, we tend to be very energy and data conscious. So when it comes to trying to reduce, the amount of energy consumed and the data transmitted, it's really great for that. And on top of it all, the improved penetration and range that NB-IoT brings is really great for remote deployments, which is particularly useful in the South African context.
Okay. Are there specific sort of opportunities that you see with NB-IoT that sort of weren't there before, maybe with 2G and LTE? Are you seeing some interesting use cases for that?
I mean, I would say that the biggest benefit of NB-IoT, apart from the longevity of the technology compared to 2G, would be the power saving benefits. So, I mean, our new generation of NB-IoT trackers, they boast a huge improvement in power usage compared to their 2G predecessors. I mean, even up to 30 times more efficient in some cases. Wow. So because of this, it's possible to have deploy once solutions, as we refer to them, where devices can function well beyond 10 years using a single set of AAA batteries, for example. So yeah, this is largely a result of moving over to NB-IoT from 2G, for example. Yeah, and as I previously mentioned, the penetration of NB-IoT compared to 2G means you can deploy devices in far more remote contexts. So things such as livestock tracking, agriculture tracking, that sort of thing. It becomes a lot more reliable in terms of connectivity if you go via the NB-IoT route, for example.
Sure. And you've done some pretty good testing stuff. I saw that you did. How the results are for how are you finding the sort of NB-IoT network? Has that, in terms of coverage, in terms of quality, is there any sort of, anything you can comment around that at this stage?
Yeah, so I mean, NB-IoT, it's still fairly new, but Vodacom, for example, they've deployed their network in South Africa for more than 5 years now. And we have been one of the initial testers. So, I'd say at this stage, we are quite comfortable with using NB-IoT, and we're very comfortable in selling devices to clients who would like to use NB-IoT. It's a comfortably established network, and I'd say that any hiccups and growing pains from the initial development of the network have already been addressed. So it's essentially in a highly functional state. Yeah, I mean, regarding the coverage, Vodacom has already got a very extensive NB-IoT network in South Africa. I mean, they cover all the major metropoles and routes between them. And I mean, it's still growing. And the good news is that because NB-IoT is now classified as a 5G network, we do anticipate it to become far more prevalent. And while Vodacom currently has the monopoly in South Africa, we do expect competitors to enter the market soon enough and, hopefully fill the gaps and possibly provide a bit more of a competitive edge to the technology. But yeah, I mean, the good news is that NB-IoT is definitely a future-proof technology, an alternative to 2G. And I think as time goes, we'll see a lot more prevalence of it. But yeah, in terms of the performance and functionality, I definitely say that it's on par or better than what we see with our 2G devices, for example, in terms of throughput and reliable connectivity.
That's interesting. Yeah, just out of interest, Vodacom's NB-IoT coverage map is available on their standard coverage map online. If you tick the little IoT box at the bottom, that will give you a map of current NB-IoT coverage. Updates from MTN is that their network is still in POC phase. It hasn't been launched commercially, but we will keep you updated if we receive any other information from that regard. But yeah, it's good to hear that Vodacom's network has matured nicely. I think it's been live for over a year now in a sort of commercial phase. So yeah, I think, and also the power saving has been switched on all towers, I believe. I don't know if you are aware of that, Brandon, the power saving functionality.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the benefits of NB-IoT, power saving mode and EDRX. Those two features in particular, they really promote the power saving abilities on the end device, which you can't compare to traditional 2G networks.
Sure. Okay. No, that's great. Yeah, Brandon, thanks for that update. Really appreciate it. It's great to talk to someone who's sort of seeing deployments every day. Yeah, so thanks for that. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you have any questions regarding NB-IoT, please reach out to myself or Brandon using any of our channels. We'll also show the contact details on the screen. And yeah, I hope that's a helpful little update on NB-IoT. Brandon, thanks for joining us. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks so much. Cheers.
Bye.